Hi all, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to talk about how my language school taught kanji and the best method I recommend to learn kanji as someone who has learned Mandarin Chinese since high school and is now at an advanced level. So it seems that kanji was, and probably still is, the most hated part of learning Japanese at my language school. My classmates hated kanji. It was bad enough they had to learn hiragana and katakana within the first week of class, and then throw kanji into the mix. Oh, they were just stewing. They were like, what the hell is this? It was so foreign to them. Hiragana and katakana at least had pronunciations attached to them. They were like the alphabet. But kanji has no pronunciation attached to it. You either know it or you don't. So how did my language school teach kanji? Worksheets. If you have the Mina no Nihongo grammar textbook, you will see that every chapter has a list of vocabulary that consists of the hiragana, katakana, kanji, and definition. As you go through each chapter, the teacher will pick a group of kanjis that they want you to know from the chapter. They will hand you a worksheet, go over the vocabulary list, and teach you how to write each kanji. There's actually a correct stroke order that they teach. Most students, though, don't care and they just write it however they want to write it, so whatever floats your boat. The teacher will sometimes give you time in class to practice writing those kanjis on the worksheets. Oftentimes, though, they will only go through the kanjis on the worksheet with you. You are expected to practice writing it on your own free time. However, they don't check it, so this is where your self-diligence comes in. What you put in is what you get out of it. Remember in my last video, I told you that most people who go to my language school are at the age range of working adults, so they treat you like adults. They do expect a certain level of commitment and follow-through, but they will not micromanage you every step of the way. Flashcards. There's a certain group of kanjis that they pick out from the Mina no Nihongo textbooks and put these onto huge flashcards. And every day, the whole class practices reading these flashcards. Some teachers will pick students to read the flashcard and make a sentence using that particular kanji. So don't think you can slack off. If you don't recognize the kanji, that's fine. They'll ask someone to help you out. But do know they will put you on the spot. You definitely don't want to be the student who doesn't know any kanji. You will stand out like a sore thumb. Quizzes. Not in the first quarter, but in the second quarter of classes, you will be given mini quizzes on the kanji. They are quick quizzes, usually of no more than 5 to 8 sets of kanjis, if I remember correctly. The teacher will come around to check your quizzes and circle the ones you missed in red and ask you to fix it immediately. And they will come around a second time to check it again. So it's not a major serious quiz that you get graded on, it's more like a quick check to see if you know your stuff. Mind you, the teachers know what the strengths and weaknesses are for every student, especially if your class is really small. And they do try to keep the classes really small. So when they do these quick quizzes, they're making a mental note of who's struggling with what. So these quizzes are not to scare you, it's more like a progress check. If they see everyone struggling with these kanjis, they will put more class time into helping you learn it. Usage. You are required to write essays. Yes, essays, plural with a capital S. I don't even remember how many essays I've written over the 6 months I was at my language school, but I can tell you it wasn't just 1 or 2. Even as an absolute beginner, and we barely just learned hiragana and katakana, we were required to write essays. Some students were allowed to write their essays in Romaji, especially if they were struggling with learning the hiragana and katakana. My suggestion to you, though, is to immediately use hiragana and katakana, even if it takes you a million years to write one sentence. Throw Romaji out the door, like yesterday. Nobody in Japan uses Romaji for anything. It's a foreigner thing. It's like going to China and asking if they have General Tso's chicken. They will look at you like they have no clue what you're talking about because they don't. So just don't do it. Using Romaji is a handicap. It handicaps you from progressing as fast as you can. Remember, when in Japan, eat, sleep, poop, and think in Japanese. In fact, I'm going to tell you this. You should be eating, sleeping, pooping, and thinking in hiragana and katakana before you even come to Japan. It's that important. Anyways, back to the topic. The teacher allows you to write your essay in Romaji, hiragana only, or kanji and hiragana. They encourage you to use as much kanji as possible, but it's not a requirement. So a lot of students choose the easier route. However, I suggest you take the harder route and immediately use kanji and hiragana. I promise you, your life will be much easier down the road if you take the harder route now. You won't have to spend an extra period of time adjusting to kanji and hiragana. When you do that, it immediately takes your brain off of translating everything back into English. When you translate everything back into a different language, it really slows your progress down. Remember, when in Japan, what do? Eat, sleep, poop, and think in Japanese. How did upperclassmen learn kanji? So, how did upperclassmen learn kanji? From listening to my upperclassmen friends talk, they were given a list of kanjis every day, and every morning they had a quiz on a handful of them. Because they don't know which ones they'll be tested on, they pretty much have to know all of them. And this is every single day, if I recall correctly. So once you get to the upper classes, they really start honing into learning kanji. There's much less hand-holding at this point, just a lot of self-diligence and putting in the work. This isn't until 3/4 in or 9 months into the program if you start at the absolute beginner level like me. But as you can see, these classes are intense and they do go fast. That's why I suggest that you start using kanji and hiragana immediately for everything, even if you're an absolute beginner. Because once you get to these upper classes, and really it's just 9 months in, you do not have time to adjust yourself to using kanji and hiragana. It will slow you down immensely. That's why I say using Romaji is an absolute handicap, and you do not want to handicap yourself like that. How I suggest you learn kanji. This is how I suggest you learn kanji, and this is a hack I learned from YouTuber Chris Abroad from Abroad in Japan, as well as one of the teachers at my language school. They suggest that you tell yourself a story on every kanji that you need to learn. And that story doesn't even have to have anything to do with the meaning of the kanji. For example, the character for nomu, which means to drink. It's really hot in Japan right now. So I'm standing underneath a canopy. This is my hair, my face, my body, and I'm holding a can of Coke. And where did I get this can of Coke? Well, right next to me is a vending machine. This is where you pay, and this is where the drink drops down after you pay. Nomu, to drink. This was a method that I used to help teach one of my classmates kanji when she was really struggling with it. So I found that the best way to learn kanji is to teach others how to remember a kanji by telling them a story. So if you are in a language school and you have a small class, I suggest you form study groups of no more than 5 people and divide the kanjis up amongst yourselves, then have everybody take turn telling a story on their kanji. Make it funny and make it interesting. The better the story, the more everyone is going to remember it. In fact, make it a party. Do this during lunchtime or after class. Bring snacks, bring drinks, and make it a game. Have fun with it. I will promise you kanji will become fun and you will remember it. How I learned kanji in my Chinese Mandarin class. I started learning Mandarin in high school. My teacher was from Shanghai, and he wanted us to learn both traditional Chinese characters and simplified Chinese characters. Traditional Chinese characters are used in Hong Kong and Taiwan, as well as any old Chinese books written before the 1960s. Simplified Chinese characters are used in China, Singapore, Malaysia, and probably any Chinese language school throughout the world today. Traditional Chinese characters have more brush strokes, and most people who only learn simplified characters can't read it. I was required to know both, but I prefer traditional and often only read books in traditional Chinese characters. The way we learned it in Chinese class was just rote memorization and a lot of writing practice. This is a very Chinese method of teaching. Most of the students in my class didn't care for it, so they didn't do so well. I, on the other hand, loved it. For me, writing Chinese character was very therapeutic and meditative, and I simply enjoyed doing it. It never felt like a chore for me. So if you're like me, then rote memorization and writing practice might be a good way for you to learn kanji too. I call this the old tried and true method. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you got anything out of it, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comment below. Mata ne!